I'm joined now by Professor Zamokuhle Mbandlwa, political analyst from the Durban University of Technology. Professor, very good afternoon. Appreciate your time. You probably would have been watching that conversation by Ivan Barnes, and he says they're tired of being treated like the little brother, like a pawn on this chess piece. What do you make of what we've just listened to?
Thank you very much, Hugo. Good afternoon to yourself and the viewers. These are very interesting times. One must also attest that the conflict at this point between the GPU partners in KwaZulu-Natal is long overdue. I've expected this conflict a long time ago because this unity was not on the basis of advancing the interest of people of KwaZulu-Natal. And I like what the president of NFP is saying now, where he says the IFP is not honest when it comes to leadership and also sharing the responsibilities. He also mentioned the issue of Zululand, where NFP was supposed to lead the municipality, but the IFP then said the people of Zululand want to be led by the IFP. And then he made an utterance that the people of KwaZulu-Natal, if you look at the numbers and the election outcome, they wanted to be led by the NFP. So in a nutshell, he said the leader of the IFP was not honest when he said people of Zululand wanted to be led by the IFP. Now, that's where I think he's coming from when he say he's treated as a pawn, because he's there just to add numbers and support the leadership of KwaZulu-Natal to lead, in this case led by the IFP.
So outside of the politics, he's made allegations against Premier Thami Ntuli around expenditure, unwanted expenditure, if you will, running into the billions of rand. Is this justified? Is this information accurate from your understanding?
At this point, it's very difficult to verify the information with regards to what you have said, especially because when there is a conflict, those who are in the conflict situation will always come with a lot of allegations, and it's very difficult for anyone to confirm those allegations from the spot or at the spot. It's very important to verify those allegations. But also, what I think is very important here to note is that we are actually heading local government elections next year. So this is actually a campaign for many other political parties, especially those who are in GNU, GPU, whereby they will try to isolate themselves from the unity or from the group that is leading in a particular area, whether a province or national. We are still yet to see these types of engagements taking place, building up to the local government elections next year. But also, Hugo, what we also need to note is that under the leadership of GPU or GNU, those who are at the center or on top of leadership will always try to protect those who are at the bottom, because, you know, this is like a puzzle. If you move one piece, then the entire throne will collapse. And I don't know why the IFP have not been able to deal with the issue of the conflicts between the NFP and the IFP, because without the NFP, there will be no leadership of the IFP in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And also, there will be those who are also in favor of the NFP, who are currently now in the GPU in KwaZulu-Natal. And if you look at how the dynamics are, NFP, MKP, and just one party, this will collapse the leadership of IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, or GPU led by the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal.
So let's pick up on what Ivan Barnes said. He says we took a decision to meet with the MKP. We were not there when they made the motion of no confidence. All parties have met with MKP, and he says this is something they're just emphasising. And while I carry on with the next point, there's a graphic that we're going to bring up to look at the way the seat math works at the moment. He says we haven't withdrawn from the GPU. We're just saying the IFP must remove Thami Ntuli. So when you look at those coalition seats, the IFP has 15, ANC has 14, DA 11, and NFP that one seat to make a total of 41. And the opposition, obviously, the MK with 37 and the EFF with the 2 seats. Now, there's this move, if you will, that Ivan Barnes has made. He said that the GPU must remove, the IFP must remove Thami Ntuli as Premier. What do you make of that statement? Where is it going to leave things? Is this likely to rock the boat?
Well, first and foremost, what I've observed is that the internal politics or the politics between the NFP and the IFP is the main cause of these particular conflicts, because if you have listened to his utterances, he kept saying that the IFP have the big brother mentality. So in other words, they don't have an issue with the GPU at this point, but they have an issue with the IFP. So, and also, it's very interesting to see how they will deal with this issue, because they are not upright saying that they are no longer willing to be part of the GPU. So they are still sitting on the fence at this point, because if they have a position, they could have said they are withdrawing their participation even before going to the media. But what I've also observed is that based on what the points that they've made now, it shows that the media briefing was premature, because they've acknowledged that they have some internal divisions within, and there are those who are supposed to be subjected to disciplinary processes, and they will call media afterwards. So it really shows that they were supposed to deal with the internal squabbles first, and also maybe engage the IFP, because there is no clear indication whether they've tried to engage the IFP at a provincial level and also the IFP at a national level, because these collisions are not just made by few individuals, but they are very structural. So for me, I think the attack is based on Mr. Thami Ntuli himself as an individual, and also based on the relationship between the NFP and the IFP. And I think they have not exhausted all the due processes that are supposed to be followed with regards to the relationship between all political parties who are leading in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
So we've talked largely about the NFP and what they've had to say during that statement this morning. Let's talk about the IFP. How are they likely to react to this statement? Whilst you said there's homework that still needs to be done by the NFP, is it going to make them somewhat uncomfortable? Are they going to come to the table and have a conversation with the NFP? Which the NFP, by the way, says is long overdue.
Yeah, I think they started with the last thing to do. First and foremost, they were supposed to engage one another at a political level. All these parties, especially those 2 parties, engage and look at how they can find an amicable solution to the problem, because it's clear that there's a crack between the leadership of, and also it's very difficult to understand how there's a problem between the national leadership of the NFP and the provincial leadership of KwaZulu-Natal, because I will assume that the provincial leaders must engage at a provincial level and the national leaders must engage at a national level. Well, I think the IFP will have to follow the due processes, and I don't think the IFP at a provincial level will deal with this issue nationally. I think the national leadership of the IFP will have to take over and address this issue, because currently these formations or this Government of Unity are supposed to be handled at a national level, where the national leadership give a directive to all different structures, province and regionals, whereby they need to be told which political parties they need to work with. And I don't see the provincial leadership of the IFP taking over and responding to the allegations that were made and also the divisions that they have until the national leadership of the IFP address this particular point, because the issue of the unity is handled at a national level.
Now, Professor, we do know that the MKP tabled a motion against Ntuli in October, but obviously that stalled on procedural grounds. But talk to me about the MKP, the ANC and the DA and the sort of conversation that they're likely to have on the sidelines with all of this unraveling.
Yeah. You know, what I think will be an opportunity now for the MKP is to engage other political parties like the EFF. Because, for example, the case of KZN, if NFP, MK, and EFF work together or form a unity, that alone will actually shake the leadership spectrum in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and it will change the dynamics. So, but the issue now is it's very difficult to have an agreement at a provincial level where there's a disagreement at a national level. And I think at this point, we have seen this happening in many areas where the ANC and the DA did not agree in some regions or in some provinces and also in some municipalities, where else there is an agreement at a national level. And that have created some challenges or some problems, and the national leadership of both parties had to intervene and issue a directive on how the leaders in various areas or provinces or regions or municipalities had to attend the issues. So I think it's highly likely that the national leadership of the IFP, national leadership of the DA and NC will have to zoom in and address the issue of KZN on how they must deal with this particular issue. And now again, it's very difficult to mobilize or to convince the EFF to entertain what is happening in KZN in support of the IFP, because there's no agreement between the EFF, DA and the ANC at a national level. So the EFF at this point will have to take a decision on the basis of who they think they must support in the conflicts of KZN, and also looking at a broader participation or engagement, since we are also going to have provincial or local government elections coming soon next year.
Interesting times indeed. Professor Zamokuhle Mbandlwa, appreciate your time.